In America, your very first breath can decide your future. From the moment you're born on U.S. soil, the Constitution says you are a citizen, no matter where your parents came from. That guarantee, written into the 14th Amendment after the Civil War, promised every child born here begins life on equal footing. But today, that promise is under fire. Political leaders are challenging it. Courtrooms are weighing it. Families are wondering if their children's future is still secure. For supporters, birthright citizenship is the cornerstone of American identity. Opportunity by soil, not bloodline. For critics, it's a loophole, an outdated rule that encourages undocumented immigration and anchor babies. And that's the battle. Is birthright citizenship an unshakable constitutional guarantee or a policy that can be restricted with the stroke of a pen? In this video, we'll unpack it all. The history that gave rise to the 14th Amendment, the landmark cases that defined who counts as American, the executive orders and lawsuits shaking its foundation today, and the stakes for millions of families whose futures hang in the balance. Because behind the headlines, this isn't just legal, it's moral. It asks, what does it really mean to be American? And can that promise of belonging be taken away? The debate over birthright citizenship didn't begin today. It was born in the ashes of slavery. In 1857, the Supreme Court ruled in Dred Scott v. Sanford that Black Americans, enslaved or free, could never be citizens. It was a decision that denied humanity to millions and helped push the nation into civil war. When the Union prevailed, the question became, who belongs? The answer came in 1868 with the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. With one sentence, the Constitution erased Dred Scott. Citizenship would no longer depend on race or bloodline. It depended on being born here. This wasn't just legal housekeeping. It was moral redefinition. Freed slaves, long denied recognition, were now Americans in the eyes of the law. The U.S. was declaring, America is not a private club. It's a home for all born on its soil. Even then, controversy lingered. Lawmakers debated what subject to the jurisdiction thereof meant. Did it include Native Americans in sovereign nations, children of foreign diplomats, immigrants? Those questions echoed through generations, shaping every future challenge. The 14th Amendment was more than law. It was a new definition of the American identity. 3 decades later, one man forced the Supreme Court to clarify the 14th Amendment. Wong Kim Ark was born in San Francisco in 1873 to Chinese parents barred from naturalization by the Chinese Exclusion Act. When he returned from a trip to China in the 1890s, U.S. officials denied him re-entry, claiming his parents' status meant he wasn't a citizen. The case reached the Supreme Court. In 1898, the court ruled in Wong's favor. He was a citizen. The decision cemented jus soli, citizenship by soil, as U.S. law. It didn't matter that his parents weren't citizens. If you were born here, you belonged here. This ruling didn't erase discrimination. Asian exclusion laws remained for decades, but it established a constitutional line that still holds. Wong Kim Ark didn't just win his case. He defined what it meant to be American for generations. At the heart of the 14th Amendment lies the phrase, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Originally, it was narrow, meant to exclude the children of foreign diplomats and sovereign native tribes. Everyone else born here was included. Yet today, critics argue it excludes children of undocumented immigrants. They claim parents who broke immigration law cannot pass citizenship to their children. But the courts have disagreed. From Wong Kim Ark onward, legal consensus has been clear. If you can be arrested, tried, or punished under U.S. law, you are under U.S. jurisdiction. That includes the children of undocumented immigrants. Legal scholars call the clause a safeguard, not a loophole. It prevents America from creating classes of children born here but excluded from belonging. For more than a century, birthright citizenship seemed untouchable, but in 2025, that certainty cracked. Former President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14160, seeking to deny citizenship to children of undocumented parents. His argument, the 14th Amendment was being misapplied. The response was immediate. Civil rights groups and state attorneys general sued within hours. Courts issued nationwide injunctions blocking the order, citing more than a century of precedent. But Trump's team appealed, and the Supreme Court signaled it would narrow lower courts' power to issue sweeping injunctions. That didn't overturn the 14th Amendment, but it made the path to challenging executive actions murkier. Meanwhile, lawsuits like Barbara versus Trump, backed by the ACLU, pressed on. Hospitals and schools faced a chilling question. Would a baby born today still be recognized as American tomorrow? For the first time in generations, the promise of automatic citizenship was no longer ironclad. Behind the court battles are families whose lives depend on one clause of the Constitution. Without birthright citizenship, children risk statelessness, not recognized here or by their parents' countries. That means no passports, IDs, or basic rights. Consider military families. Immigrant service members could see their children denied citizenship in the country they defend. Or immigrant parents in Houston, whose kids, now citizens with access to schools and health care, might suddenly face exclusion. Everyday systems, schools, hospitals, agencies, would be thrown into chaos. Birthright citizenship isn't just paperwork, it's stability. Without it, millions of families would live under a cloud of uncertainty. The Migration Policy Institute warns, repealing birthright citizenship would instantly reclassify millions of children as undocumented, swelling the population by nearly 5 million in a decade. Economically, it would create an underclass locked out of legal work and higher education. Lost productivity and tax revenue could cost billions. Even conservative think tanks admit the downside. Higher enforcement costs, weaker workforce growth, strain on Social Security and Medicare. Demographically, it accelerates an aging crisis. The U.S. already needs young workers to sustain its systems. Restricting citizenship would shrink the very population meant to support them. This isn't solving a problem, it's creating new ones, larger, costlier, and destabilizing. Birthright citizenship is now a symbol in America's identity debate. Republicans frame it as a magnet for undocumented migration, using terms like anchor babies. They argue it burdens schools and health care. Democrats defend it as equality's guarantee, a promise written in the blood of the Civil War, as President Biden put it. Repeal, they argue, revives old exclusionary politics. Scholars warn, ending birthright citizenship risks creating a permanent underclass. The debate is less about law and more about America's soul, who truly belongs. In the Americas, birthright citizenship is common. Canada, Mexico, Brazil, all grant it automatically. These nations, built on migration, use it to integrate newcomers. In Europe, the story flips. Germany, France, Italy, the UK, most tie citizenship to parentage, not birthplace. Children of immigrants often wait years, even decades, to naturalize. That makes America unusual among developed nations. For 150 years, the U.S. has promised no aristocracy, no inherited caste. Born here, you belong here. Supporters call that openness a strength, fueling innovation and integration. Critics call it vulnerability, pointing to birth tourism or undocumented migration. The global contrast sharpens the question, is America's openness its greatest strength or its biggest weakness? Experts agree. No executive order can undo the 14th Amendment. Birthright citizenship isn't statute, it's constitution. Courts from Wong Kim Ark to now have reaffirmed it. To repeal it would require a new amendment, 2/3 of Congress, 3/4 of states. In today's divided politics, that's nearly impossible. That's why many call repeal talk political theater. Legally, Birthright citizenship sits behind one of the highest walls of protection in the American system. Birthright citizenship is more than law. It's values. It says America doesn't ask who your parents are. Born here, you belong here. Repealing it would create millions of stateless children and fracture equality at its core. But history shows resilience. From the Civil War to Wong Kim Ark to modern battles, the principle has endured. Every American story begins with the same promise, that your first breath makes you one of us. The question now, will that promise endure? Here at Politics Unpacked, we'll keep cutting through the noise with fact-first reporting. Subscribe and join the conversation, because the story of citizenship isn't just history. It's America's tomorrow,